What is up, boys and girls, epic lovers? It is your boy, the Epic Chatter, here again with yet another review. We are plowing through Iron Man. So far, so good. Got some vestiges of light left. So let's do this quickly before it gets dark. Volume 15, Doom, has been read and completed. And, okay, I feel like we're now getting into that period where it's like starting to go downhill from here, guys. I'm not going to lie. So this covers, I'll mention it in a second here. This covers Iron Man number 245 to 257 of Iron Man, annuals 10 and 11 of Iron Man, and material from Captain America number 9, annual number 9. The annual number 9 and the Iron Man annual 11 are the first two parts of the Terminus Factor, which was a 1990 annual crossover. This was a time when they were doing annual crossovers, Evolutionary War in 1988, Atlantis Attacks in 1999. With the Avengers titles, it was the Terminus Factor, and I think like Days of Future Presence in the X titles and Fantastic Four, and then Kill Shot, Shattershot, all that good stuff. Anyway, so in Avengers West Coast, Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor, there was a Terminus Factor, which I read already, and I think I did a review on it. You have to check, I think, Avengers, I forget which volume, I think it's the X Avengers one, volume 19, where if you want to get all 5 parts, because the other 4 parts, the other 4 chapters, and the other 4 titles, you're not going to get them anywhere. Avengers West Coast, Captain America, Thor, or Iron Man is not going to have all 5. So you got to get the Avengers volume to get all 5 parts. In this one, we only get 1 and 2. The first one is in Captain America Annual 9, and the second part is in Iron Man Annual 11. I don't know. It's just these little... so Terminus, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but it's just Terminus comes back, and these little fucking particles are infecting wildlife and people and making them turn into ravenous zombies who ravage people, and it's okay. Without parts 3 through 5, it's like, who cares, But I read the first 2 chapters and they were fine. Annual 10 of Iron Man was Atlantis Attacks. It was actually chapter 2 out of like 15 titles. Oh God, this is like the headache that we as readers have to deal with Marvel and DC when they have to do all these company-wide crossovers throughout the titles that nobody even reads, but you have to read them. You have to buy them and read them in order to understand the story. That annual 10 Atlantis Attacks for Iron Man basically has Iron Man fighting the Magia, AIM, and Hydra, and drugs. Like the Magia are trading and smuggling in drugs. Meanwhile, Namor, the Submariner, enters the act. Enters the occurrences and helps out Iron Man, and then he blows up. He supposedly dies, but of course we know nobody stays dead too long in Marvel. But that's what happens. So the annuals, I don't really care for them. The stories, I will say, from 245 to 250 are written by David Michelinie. Unfortunately, 250 is his last issue. Interestingly enough, he wrote 149 and 150 of Iron Man, and 249 and 250 mirror each other in that Dr. Doom was the villain in the previous 2-parter, which I think I mean, it hasn't been released yet. Volumes 8 and 9 of Iron Man haven't been released, so I don't know. But from what I gather, Iron Man and Dr. Doom already had a fight with each other, and then Merlin, I think, was involved, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. But because they mention it's like deja vu all over again when they fight again in 249, 250. This cylinder appears, and Merlin takes Dr. Doom and Iron Man and bring them into the future. the year 2093, in fact, where we'll all be dead by then. But it's a future in England. Merlin talks like a normal dude, like a normal person, and there's King Arthur, who's like a 17-year-old kid, and I don't know. It was a weird story. Doctor Doom, they meet Doctor Doom of the future, which is, I guess, 2099 Doctor Doom, which is Victor Von Doom. Somehow he manages to live through cybernetics and electronics. And then the Iron Man of the future turns out to be Tony's descendant, Andros Stark. We met Arno Stark, the Iron Man of 2020, and then we have Andros Stark in this volume. In the storyline, 249 and 250. I didn't care for it. To be honest, it wasn't a great way to end David Michelinie's run, but he did restore. So Tony got shot by Marcy. Marcy's his PR chick. Kathy Dare, who becomes this obsessed bitch. Tony, doesn't really like her anymore because she's just a pain in the ass, and she shoots Tony at the end of issue 242. 243, he deals with being a cripple. 244, and then 245, which is where it picks up here, up until 248. So from 242 to 248, Tony's a cripple. He can't walk. He's in a wheelchair. He actually has a hover chair similar to what Charles Xavier has in X-Men, but not really. It's not gold, but it does float because of electromagnetics. And actually, I think it predates Xavier when Xavier comes back with Lilandra in the Shi'ar hover chair. I'm going to put this down, guys, but I'm talking about this, Volume 15, Doom. And then, through the miracle of science, they experiment on this microchip, which helps Tony walk again, but it's experimental, so not every handicapped and crippled person can walk again. They just have to wait and see if it works for Tony. So now Tony can walk again without the use of the Iron Man armor. That's in 248. 250 and 251 and 252 are the Acts of Vengeance storyline. 250 for some reason says Acts of Vengeance on it, but it's not part of the Acts of Vengeance. They made a mistake. Marvel made yet another oopsie. So 251 and 252 is the Acts of Vengeance. He takes on the Wrecker, who normally fights Thor. And then 252, he fights Chemistro, who's usually a Luke Cage Power Man villain. 247, he teams up with the Grey Hulk, which was pretty cool. Unbeknownst to him, Iron Man is aware of Grey Hulk's presence, but Grey Hulk isn't aware of Iron Man. And they just take on the Magia. Madame Mask, like I had mentioned in the last video, Whitney Frost was murdered by her doppelganger or robot, masquerading as Madame Mask, but she manages to escape. And then, so David Michelinie is no longer on the book. We now have Dwayne McDuffie taking over 251, 252, the Acts of Vengeance issues. Then we get Bob Layton filling in. It gets a little confused. Not confused, but no, it is confused. It's confused, and it's just really difficult to languish through these subsequent issues, all the way up until 257. You got Glenn Herdling and Fabian Nicieza doing an interesting issue 255, where Crimson Dynamo, the new Crimson Dynamo, what's his name? Shadalov. That's his name. Shadalov. Valentin Shadalov and Tony switch bodies and minds. Or they switch minds into each other's bodies because of this dude named Freak Quincy. Freak Quincy. It was a pretty good issue, but okay, whatever. It's just, again, a fill-in issue until they get John Byrne, who's going to take over from 258 to 277. That's going to be Volume 16, War Games, which I'll mention in a second. 254 has the Taskmaster comes back. I forget who wrote that. But Taskmaster creates a new Spy Master. So we got Taskmaster and Spy Master going after Tony. It says Santa Claus at the very bottom, that Iron Man takes on Santa Claus, but it's basically the new Spy Master posing as Santa Claus to go after Tony and Take an Angel. That's actually, it was a pretty good, it was a Christmas story or Christmas Eve story. And 256 had him going up to the, John Romita Jr., by the way, joins as a penciler in 256. He pencils somebody's story where he goes up to the space station and cleans it out of the AIM Bacillus virus so that they can get it operational and working again. And Tony does that. And then 257, what happens there? I fucking forgot. Something happens there. It's not a great... I mean, it's good up until Michelinie leaves, and then it's just filler, guys. Yeah, we have David Michelinie, Bob Layton, Dwayne McDuffie, Paul Smith, who did some pencils in the first couple issues. So it's funny, like they're looking for fill-in pencilers, and then when Michelinie leaves, then they look for guest writers. So Iron Man is in pretty bad shape, in my honest opinion. This is 1989 to 1990, so already the trajectory here is starting to waver and falter, which sucks. And Herb Trimpe is another artist who fills in. But ultimately, guys, this is where it's going to go downhill from here. Unfortunately, this is from what I feel. But I recommend you guys read it. Volume 15, Doom is the title. But that's okay, because now we are going to be doing Volume 16, War Games. So we're also getting close to when Rhodey becomes War Machine. That'll be next volume, Volume 17. Pretty cool, too. Look, this is one of those early books before it became like... Oops, dropped my bookmark. So you see how this epic collection looks like the normal, common one that we're used to? This is the early one. That's how you know that this is an early book. This came out actually in 2014, so this is 11 years old and has not been reprinted, guys. This is the only copy that has been the first print that has been released. And yeah, I'm sure I spent like upwards to $70 to get this, guys. So look at that. Yeah, even the number here is all old and antiquated. Volume 16, covering 1990 to 1992. This is the entire John Byrne run, guys, from 258 to 277. So I'm excited. And he only writes, by the way, this is John Byrne's writing only duties. He teams up with Paul Ryan, John Romita Jr., and Mark Bright, all of whom are credited here on the front cover. So yeah, looks pretty cool. I don't know where this is from. Apparently this is from issue 258, so let's look at that. Hold on. And this is, yeah, R.R. Donnelly wrote this. So yeah, this is 258, which also happens to be the cover. Written by John Byrne and drawn first by John Romita Jr. and then Paul Ryan and Mark Bright filling in. So yeah, guys, this is the next issue. The next issue. The next volume, Volume 16, War Games. So check that out. If you guys can get it somehow, some way like I did, either through Amazon or eBay, more power to you. But you're going to be looking at a lot of dollars for that one. This one should still be in your stores, guys. So this is, like I said, Volume 15, Doom, which is what this video is about. That's going to be the next one. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. This was 247 when he teams up with, because he doesn't really team up with him, because Grey Hulk is not aware of Iron Man in this mix. And this is from 250, where Doom and Iron Man team up. They help Merlin and King Arthur fight against the Iron Man of the future and the Doctor Doom of the future, which is actually this Doctor Doom. Very confusing, right? That wasn't too bad. All right, guys, leave your comments down below. Likes, dislikes, subscribes, don't subscribes. I don't care. But keep reading those epics, guys. I read them so you don't have to, but I encourage you to do so because they're fucking awesome, right? All right, guys. Thanks for your comments. I'm just gonna bang all these out, guys, and at some point I'll do all these special countdowns and retro reviews of all these other books that I missed the first time. So stay tuned, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.